The story of Atlantis is one of the most renowned and enduring tales of a lost city said to have been swallowed up by the sea and lost forever. Yet, by all rights, it may probably never have really existed. However, there are real places that are every bit as incredible as our fantasies. These cities, like Atlantis, were wiped clean off the face of the earth. For hundreds or thousands of years, they lived on as nothing but stories. Often ones that were so incredible that people doubted they ever really existed. They weren't just myths, they were actually out there just waiting for us to uncover them. There's no end to the list of lost cities of the ancient world, but to make things easier for you, we've listed 10 unbelievable lost cities of the world. Number 10, Gorka. The modern city of Gorka, meaning gateway to heaven in Sanskrit, is located in the northwestern Indian state of Gujarat. This city is regarded as one of the most prominent sacred pilgrimage sites of Hinduism, and one of the 7 most ancient religious sites in the country. According to Hindu mythology, Gorka is the ancient home of Krishna, the supreme personality of the Godhead who lived on Earth 5,000 years ago. Gorka was built by the architect of the gods under Krishna's orders, who demanded a city made of crystal, silver, and emeralds. The city is said to have been divided into 6 sectors, which contained residential and commercial areas, wide roads, plazas, palaces, 700,000 that were made of gold, silver, and precious stones, as well as numerous public facilities, including beautiful gardens and lakes. Krishna also demanded that 16,108 palaces be made for his 16,108 queens. The results of the underwater archaeological search proved it didn't have 16,108 silver palaces, but it was a major ancient city with the same layout, and the rest fit as just a little bit of embellishment. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 9, Pyramid City of Caral. It's widely taught in the field of ancient history that Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and India gave rise to the first civilizations of mankind. According to history, the first civilization lived in a capital known as the Sacred City of Caral, a 5,000-year-old metropolis. The ancient city of Caral had lain buried beneath the sand for thousands of years until the Supe Valley, which lies 200 miles north of Lima on the Peruvian Pacific coast, was surveyed in 1905 by the German archaeologist Max Uhl, who revealed the first archaeological discoveries in the area. It wasn't until several decades later that full-scale excavations took place, revealing the tip of a very large iceberg. In the 1970s, archaeologists discovered that the hills originally identified as natural formations were stepped pyramids, and by the 1990s, the full extent of the great city of Caral had emerged. Excavations revealed 6 large pyramids arranged around a huge plaza. It's estimated that Caral was home to a population of about 3,000 people. Number 8, the medieval castle of Africa, Great Zimbabwe. In the early 16th century, Portuguese explorers started reporting that they'd heard legends about a castle in Africa. For a long time, these rumors of a great city hidden somewhere in the south of Africa sounded like a myth. In the land today known as Zimbabwe, the natives told them, was a stone fortress that towered over the trees. The locals called it Simbayo, and even they didn't know who had built it. Popular opinion was that the place had to be mythical Ophir, from whence the Queen of Sheba got the gold she gave to King Solomon, as chronicled in the Bible. In 1871, a German man seeking Ophir explored Great Zimbabwe, as the locals called it. The massive castle had stone walls more than 11 meters tall and was believed to have been made in AD 900 by an African civilization that has been lost to time. But they were incredibly connected. Inside the fortress, relics were found from all around the world, likely gathered by trading with other countries. There were Arab coins, Persian pottery, and even relics from the Chinese Ming dynasty. It's proof that a lost African civilization, forgotten to history, had trade routes that connected to China. However, archaeologists were so hell-bent on finding evidence that proved white builders were responsible, they discarded all of the relics that were clearly of indigenous origin, which were, of course, all of them. Number 7. City of the Monkey God. In his quest for gold, Hernan Cortez heard rumors that there was a city of great wealth hiding in the jungles of Honduras. It was called the White City by some and the City of the Monkey God by others, and it promised to hold an incredible fortune. In 1939, adventurer Theodore Mord claimed to have found it and brought thousands of artifacts back to the United States to prove it. He never revealed the precise location of his find, as he feared the site would be looted and passed away before returning to the site for a proper excavation. Archaeologists have now discovered extensive plazas, earthworks, mounds, an earthen pyramid, and dozens of finely carved artifacts belonging to a mysterious culture that is virtually unknown. A group followed the path described by one of the crazier people who claimed to have found the place, and to their surprise, they actually found a city where he said it would be. They found a pyramid in a rainforest, built by a culture that had vanished 1,000 years ago. Inside, there were caches of stone sculptures and impressive architecture that, by the standards of their neighbors, would have been considered signs of incredible wealth and power. Number 6. Helike. Atlantis wasn't the only mythical Greek city that sank under the water. The city of Helike met the same fate, and it shares every bit of Atlantis' mythic power. The legendary ancient city of Helike was situated in Achaia, on the northwestern part of the Peloponnesian Peninsula. During its heyday, it was the leader of the First Achaean League, a confederation that consisted of 12 cities in the surrounding area. According to Greek myths, Helike was destroyed by the wrath of the god Poseidon. The city's residents had driven the Ionian tribe, who were loyal worshippers of the god of the sea, out of Helike. In his fury, Poseidon pulled the whole city under the water in a single night. In 373 BCE, a huge tsunami from the Gulf of Corinth, resulting from an earthquake, wiped the city of Helike from the face of the earth. But it wasn't wiped completely away, nor was it buried that deep under the sea. The city once bragged a giant bronze statue of Poseidon, and 150 years after its destruction, a visitor to the site wrote about how it kept getting tangled in fishing nets. Other visitors wrote that the walls of the ancient city were still visible underwater, though they were by then much corroded by the salt water. The one thing these ancient visitors never wrote, however, was the exact location. And so Helike was lost until 2001, that the ancient city was finally unearthed in Achaia, Greece. In 2012, the destruction layer was uncovered, which confirmed that the site is indeed Helike. Number 5. Chichen Itza. Several of the great lost cities were found in Central America, where the great Mesoamerican civilizations flourished. In the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, the Mayan culture made its mark. In the 6th century, they built Chichen Itza not far away from the modern-day Cancun. They built it beside two major cenotes, which are wells found in natural sinkholes in the limestone ground, and the only source of fresh water in the area. The name comes from the word chi, mouths, chen, wells, and Itza, the name of the Maya tribe that settled there. Around the 10th century, the Mayan cities in the area fell and were occupied by foreign invaders. Although these invaders still spoke Mayan, they brought in new influences from the Toltecs. They may have been the Itza people, or the Itza may have arrived a few centuries later. In any event, it was at this time that some of the more remarkable architecture was built, including the so-called castle, a pyramid with 265 steps rising to the top, one for each day of the Mayan year. After the city was abandoned, it was swallowed by the jungle and forgotten by all except the surviving Maya, who still lived in the area and revered the site as sacred. In the 19th century, the place was rediscovered by the outside world and archaeological restoration began. Today, it's a major tourist attraction, with countless day trips to the site offered by the bevy of resorts along the nearby Mayan Riviera. Number 4. The rediscovery of Urkesh. Ancient Urkesh was once a major hub of the ancient Near Eastern Hurrian civilization. known in mythology as the home of a primordial god. Little was known about Urkesh and the mysterious Hurrian civilization, as the ancient city had remained buried beneath desert sands for thousands of years, lost to the pages of history. However, in the 1980s, archaeologists discovered Telmo Zen, a towering mound that hid the remains of an ancient palace, temple, and plaza. A decade later, researchers made the exciting realization that Telmo Zen was the lost city of Urkesh. The excavations revealed most of what is known today about the early culture of the Hurrian people. A large royal palace yielded written evidence that was able to identify the ancient city. Number 3. Machu Picchu. In 1911, an explorer named Hiram Bingham from Yale University was in deepest Peru searching for Vilcabamba, the lost city of Inca where the last of those people fought against the conquistadors. He suspected Vilcabamba might also be the mythical Tampu Tocco, the birthplace of the Inca peoples. He found a lost city alright, but it was the wrong one. He'd instead found Machu Picchu. It was a small city perched atop a mountain, big enough to house around 500 to 750 people, and nobody had ever heard of it. Funny enough, it took over half a century for the case of mistaken identity to be solved. Not until 1964, when another adventurer proved that a different site was Vilcabamba. Ironically, Bingham had found these ruins too, but they seemed too small to be what he was looking for, so he passed them by. And with that, it's now time for today's best pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on our future video. Number 2. Tapram, lost city of Angkor. The photo looks like a Tomb Raider temple. This is indeed a temple complex located inside the lost city of Angkor, located in Cambodia, known to be the center of one of the largest, most prosperous, and most sophisticated kingdoms ever. The temple complex, known as Tapram, is cloaked in dappled shadow and is undoubtedly the most atmospheric ruin at Angkor. Built in 1186 and originally known as Raja Vihara, Monastery of the King, Tapram was a Buddhist temple dedicated to the mother of Jayavarman VII. Almost 80,000 people were required to maintain or attend the temple, among them more than 2,700 officials and 615 dancers. Despite many of its corridors being impassable, clogged with jumbled piles of delicately carved stone blocks dislodged by the roots of long-decayed trees, a visit to Tapram is still a unique, otherworldly experience. Number 1. Leptis Magna. Only 100 kilometers southeast of Tripoli on the Libyan coast of the Mediterranean, a massive city lay buried in the sand for almost 1,500 years. It was once a major trading hub for the empire and was buried in a sandstorm. The city is called Leptis Magna, and it was the place where the Roman Emperor Septimus Severus was born, and he turned it into a gigantic city and one of the most important parts of his empire. However, when Rome started to fall, Leptis Magna fell with it. It was pillaged by raiders, destroyed by Arab invaders, left in ruins, and completely forgotten until it was buried under the drifting sands. It wasn't until the 19th century when archaeologists found it perfectly preserved. Leptis Magna still has an amphitheater, baths, a basilica, and a circus, all preserved so incredibly by the sand that they look almost exactly how they would have when the city was in its prime.